Let's go ahead and talk about the November 7th, 2025 episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Now we kick off the show with the first segment of the night, where we kick it off with the undisputed WWE Champion, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes comes out there to the ring and he starts talking about what happened at Saturday night's main event, where he cheated to win. And yeah, Cody starts talking about how Drew McIntyre was the one that brought in the WWE Championship and was about to use it. But then, Cody Rhodes says that he had to do what it had to take to retain the WWE Championship, because he says that, last time he didn't take the opportunity and all that, he lost the title. So yeah, that's what he was saying there, and he says that he wasn't going to do that again. But then he was talking about how he wants to see who's going to be the next one to be facing him for the WWE Championship, and he says that he wants to be sitting in the crowd tonight and watch Friday Night SmackDown with the fans. So yeah, that's what Cody Rhodes was saying there, and he was getting out the ring and everything, and it looks like he's about to watch the show with the fans. But then we see Aleister Black, and he comes out there with Zelina Vega. Aleister Black comes out there and he confronts Cody Rhodes inside the ring, and he was talking about how he wants to go after the WWE Championship and all that, and he says that that's what he wants to do. And then we see Cody getting ready to fight Aleister Black, and then Zelina Vega jumps in front of him and then slaps the hell out of Cody Rhodes, talking about that as well. So yeah, that's what happened there. And then immediately we see the SmackDown general manager, Nick Aldis. He comes out there and Nick Aldis makes a match for later on tonight. It will be Cody Rhodes versus Aleister Black, one-on-one in a non-title match in the main event of tonight's episode of Friday Night SmackDown. So yeah, the main event has now been set for SmackDown tonight. And then after that, we see the United States Champion, Ilya Dragunov, walking around backstage because, he's about to have a match up next in the U.S. Open Challenge. And we see Tama Tonga walking up, and he's having a stare down with Ilya, and then he walks off. So yeah, that's what happened there. And then we see Ilya Dragunov make his way out there to the ring, because up next he'll be delivering the U.S. Open Challenge for the United States Championship up next on SmackDown. So yeah, that match will be up next. Later on tonight, we're going to be seeing Charlotte Flair versus Nia Jax, and we're going to be seeing the new WWE Women's Champion, Jade Cargill, and later on tonight in the main event, Cody Rhodes versus Aleister Black. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So, the next thing to happen on Friday Night SmackDown, we get to the first match of the night, where we see the United States Champion, Ilya Dragunov. He makes his way out there to the ring. He grabs the mic, and he was talking about the U.S. Open Challenge starts now, so who's going to answer it? And then all of a sudden, out comes Tommaso Ciampa, and he comes out there with Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, DIY. So yeah, DIY comes out there, and Ciampa wants to answer this U.S. Open Challenge and get the match going for the United States Championship and all that stuff. But, he was being pretty mean and all that stuff to Ilya, and Ilya was like, I accept the challenge. But then he says that he accepts the challenge up against Johnny Gargano, and Ciampa was not too happy about that. So yeah, that's what happened there. But yeah, it was Ilya Dragunov versus Johnny Gargano, one-on-one for the United States Championship. Ciampa was distracting Ilya right in the beginning of the match, but then that's when Gargano was taking control of this match and everything with an attack from behind. Ciampa walks away out of ringside. Candice LeRae standing there at ringside with Johnny Gargano tonight. Gargano was doing pretty good up against Ilya. At one point, he actually hits a suicide dive DDT type move onto Ilya outside the ring. He throws Ilya back into the ring and then hits one final beat onto him. The DDT over the top rope onto Ilya. He pins him 1, 2. Ilya barely kicks out at 2. Johnny gets up on the ring apron again, about to hit one final beat once again, but then Ilya counters that with a big boot to the face onto Johnny, and then Ilya climbs up there on the second turnbuckle, and then he grabs Johnny off the ring apron with a superplex onto Johnny Gargano, and then he rolls through, hitting the H-bomb onto him, pinning him for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Ilya Dragunov defeated Johnny Gargano tonight in a one-on-one match to retain the United States Championship. That's what happened there. A really good match. So for that match, I'll give it 4 stars. That's why I'll give it. Great match between those two guys there. But yeah, that's what happened there. Then, after that match happened, we see Nick Aldis talking to a referee backstage, and then all of a sudden, in his office or whatever, and then all of a sudden we see Sami Zayn coming up, and Sami Zayn wants to be at ringside for Rey Fenix tonight, but, Nick Aldis tells him that he's not medically clear to compete and everything, and he says that he can't do that. So yeah, that's what he was saying there. Sami walks out, and then R-Truth comes in, and Truth wants to pretty much put his name in this tournament as well, so he hands Nick Aldis 2 balls, and he says, I'm going to put my balls in your hands and all that stuff, so here you go. That's what happened there. And then, he was talking about how he wants to be in a tournament and everything, and then Nick Aldis looks at me and says, Truth, you're your name's in the thing. And he says, I could draw your name and you could be in the tournament. And then Truth says, well, you know what? I don't want you to be touching my balls. And then he grabs the balls anyways, because he don't want his balls to be put in with other balls. But yeah, that's what R-Truth was saying there. Pretty funny stuff there. But yeah, up next, we're going to be hearing from the new WWE Women's Champion, Jade Cargill, up next on SmackDown. And later on tonight, we're going to be seeing Julia defending the Women's United States Championship up against Chelsea Green. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So, the next thing that happened on Friday Night SmackDown, we get to another segment of the night, but before we talk about Jade Cargill, we gotta talk about a backstage segment. So yeah, we see Tommaso Ciampa sitting down backstage, and then Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae comes up, and Gargano, he lost his match against Ilya, but then we see Axiom and Nathan Frazer coming up for Axiom, and they start talking, mocking Ciampa for, him missing out on the Open Challenge last week on SmackDown, and him missing out on the Open Challenge this week on SmackDown as well, and they called him a jackass. So yeah, that's what happened there. Funny stuff right there. But yeah, then after that, we see the new WWE Women's Champion, Jade Cargill. She comes out there to the ring, and yeah, she only said a few words, pretty much saying what she said about Tiffany Stratton, and she says that she's that bitch. So yeah, that's what Jade Cargill says, sending a message out. But yeah, then after that, we see Jade Cargill walking out of the ring and everything, and then Charlotte Flair comes out there with Alexa Bliss, because Charlotte Flair got some match against Nia Jax up next. And yeah, we see Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair going face to face at it outside of the ring and stuff. And then we see Charlotte still doing her entrance and all that stuff. And then behind her, we see Jade talking a lot of crap about Charlotte. And then Charlotte decides about to walk up to Jade instead. But then Alexa Bliss stops her and tells her to focus on the match. So yeah, that's what happened there. And yeah, up next it'll be Charlotte Flair versus Nia Jax 1-on-1 up next on SmackDown. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So, the next thing to happen on Friday Night SmackDown, before we talk about the next match of the night, we gotta talk about a backstage segment where we see B-Fab and Michin going up to Chelsea Green and Alba Fire backstage, and all four women arguing and everything, and Chelsea Green was talking about how she's going to become the 4th Women's United States Champion and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's what she was saying there, and then she was talking about winning other titles and all that stuff, and then we see Jade Cargill walking up, and Jade Cargill was like, well, what's up then? And then Chelsea Green said, yeah, you know what? We're leaving. So Chelsea Green and Alba Fire leaves out, and then Jade Cargill was about to walk into the women's locker room, and same for B-Fab at the same time, and then Jade Cargill looks at B-Fab and tells her to go to hell on somewhere, pretty much fussing her out and all that stuff, and then B-Fab was like, well, what's her issue and everything to Michin, and then Jade Cargill was like, well, if you got an issue with it, how about we can have a match next week on SmackDown? Then B-Fab accepts. So yeah, it looks like it'll be Jade Cargill versus B-Fab 1-on-1. Jade walks into the locker room, and then Michin was like, what's her damn problem and everything, acting like this. So yeah, that's what's going on there. But yeah, then after that, we get to the next match of the night. It was one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Charlotte Flair with Alexa Bliss at ringside versus Nia Jax 1-on-1. This match, it was going pretty decently. Charlotte Flair was taking control of this match at the ending, trying to pin Nia for the 3 count and everything, but Nia kept on fighting through and everything. But then at the ending of this match, we see Alexa Bliss at ringside cheering on Charlotte Flair, but then we see Lash Legend making her main roster debut. It looks like she's officially on the main roster now. She comes up. So Lash Legend attacks Alexa Bliss at ringside, throwing her into the ring post and everything. That distracts Charlotte Flair. Charlotte gets taken out by Nia, and then Nia hits the Annihilator onto Charlotte, pinning her for the 3 count. So yeah, Nia Jax defeated Charlotte Flair tonight in a 1-on-1 match, and yeah, it looks like Lash Legend is aligning herself with Nia Jax. So yeah, pretty cool stuff right there. But yeah, for that match, I'll give it 2.5 stars. That's what I'll give it. But yeah, that's what happened there. And then after that, we see the SmackDown General Manager, Nick Aldis, announcing some matches in the tournament and everything. It will be The Miz versus Jey Uso 1-on-1. And then we're going to be seeing LA Knight versus a mystery opponent, because he says that he's going to be making that a surprise. So yeah, we're going to be seeing who will that be, I guess, next week on SmackDown. But yeah, next will be Julia versus Chelsea Green 1-on-1 for the Women's United States Championship up next on Friday Night SmackDown. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing that happened on Friday Night SmackDown, we get to the next match of the night. But before we talk about that match, we got to talk about a backstage segment. So yeah, we see Kathy Kelly going up to interview Nia Jax and Lash Legend, and Lash Legend is officially part of SmackDown now, and they was talking about teaming up with each other and how they're friends and everything, and how they're going after the Women's Tag Team Championship. So yeah, that's what they said there. Then after that, we get to the next match of the night. It was the WWE Women's United States Champion Julia with Kiana James at ringside versus Chelsea Green with Alba Fire at ringside in a one-on-one match for the WWE Women's United States Championship. The NXT North America champion Ethan Page is watching this match in the crowd. In this match, we see Julia taking control of this match. We see Alba Fire trying to interfere. We see Kiana James interfering. At one point, Alba Fire got up on the ring apron, distracting the ref. We see Kiana James punching Chelsea Green when the referee wasn't looking, and then that's when Alba Fire takes out Kiana James, and then Kiana James got kicked upside the head by Julia. Alba Fire got kicked upside the head by Julia. She was the one that took out Kiana James, my bad. And then we see Chelsea Green coming up, rolling up, Julia putting her feet on the ropes, getting the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Chelsea Green is the new WWE Women's United States Champion by defeating Julia tonight in a one-on-one match. For that match, I'll give it 1.5 stars. That's what I'll give it. But yeah, Chelsea Green is now the new Women's United States Champion once again. And to be honest, I think that Julia's title reign just completely sucked. Not even going to lie, like, she's really great. It was just creative that didn't do her justice. But yeah, we're going to have to see what's next with Julia now. But yeah, that's what happened there. But yeah, then after all that stuff, we get to a backstage segment where we see Solo Sikoa and the rest of the MFTs getting interviewed and everything. And Solo was talking about how they're going to be bringing home the tag team titles, the United States Championship, how they want more gold and all that stuff, and how they're going to be dealing with the YS6 and all that stuff. And then they was talking about how, Tala Tonga has to deal with Rey Fenix tonight. So yeah, up next will be Rey Fenix versus Tala Tonga, one-on-one up next on SmackDown. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So, the next thing to happen on Friday Night SmackDown, we get to the next match of the night, but I forgot to mention one more part now. During that backstage segment with the MFTs and all that stuff, the Y6 did appear, and Eric Rowan told them to, wait it out. So yeah, that's wiping there. I forgot to mention them. But yeah, then after that, we get to the next match of the night. Rey Fenix is already out there in the ring, and then we see Tala Tonga and the rest of the MFTs coming out there to the ring as well. But then we see Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, the Motor City Machine Guns, and Shinsuke Nakamura coming up, brawling with Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and JC Mateo, and they all go backstage brawling. And yeah, then we get to the match, Rey Fenix versus Tala Tonga in a one-on-one match, and Solo Sikoa's at ringside. So yeah, we get to this one. Rey Fenix quickly hits a suicide dive onto Tala Tonga a couple of times to get the match started and everything. And then, Rey Fenix is doing pretty decently up against Tala, but then Tala starts beating Rey Fenix down. And then at the ending, we see Tala Tonga try to hit a chokeslam onto Rey Fenix because he caught him in the air at one point, and then Rey Fenix tries to counter that with a Hurricane Rana, but Tala Tonga held him up, picks him up, hits a powerbomb onto Rey Fenix, picks him right back up, and he hits a chokeslam onto Phoenix, pinning him for the 3 count. So yeah, Tala Tonga defeated Rey Fenix tonight in a one-on-one match. For that match, I'll give it 2 stars. That's what I'll give it. But then after that match ended, we see Kathy Kelly interviewing The Miz backstage, and The Miz was talking about how stupid the tournament is and all that stuff because, he already defeated John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania and all that. And he says that he should be the final opponent anyways, but now he has to go through a stupid tournament, and yeah, that's what he was saying there. Because next week on SmackDown, he'll be facing Jey Uso one-on-one. But yeah, up next, it'll be the main event. It'll be Cody Rhodes versus Aleister Black, one-on-one up next in the main event of tonight's episode, Friday Night SmackDown. So yeah, that match will be up next. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. I actually forgot to mention one more part. Now, after the match ended between Rey Fenix and Tala Tonga, Solo was about to hit the Samoan Spike onto Phoenix, but then Sami Zayn came running out there with a steel chair, chasing out the MFTs. So yeah, that's what happened there with Sami Zayn saving Rey Fenix tonight. Forgot to mention that part. Somehow I forgot it. But yeah, up next to the main event. So yeah, see you guys later. Till then. So, the next thing to happen on Friday Night SmackDown, we get to the main event. It was the undisputed WWE Champion Cody Rhodes versus Aleister Black with Zelina Vega at ringside in a main event. it was a non-title match. So yeah, we get to this match, and this match, it was a pretty good one. It was back and forth and everything between these two guys. Coming up near falls at one point, we see Zelina Vega interfering with the referee, having his back turned and all that stuff. At one point, Cody hits the Cody cutter onto Aleister, and then he pins him. 1, 2, he barely kicked out at 2. Cody tries to set up for the crossroads, but then Aleister Black counters that, tries to hit Black Mass a couple of times. Cody was countering that as well. So yeah, it was just going back and forth, but then both guys laid out, and then at the ending, we see Drew McIntyre running in there, hitting a Claymore kick onto the referee, pretty much causing the match to get thrown out as a no contest. So yeah, Drew McIntyre is all pissed off at the referee for getting laid out at Saturday Night's main event, so he's saying it's all his fault for him losing that match at Saturday Night's main event. And then we see Cody attacking Drew, beating him down and all that, but then Aleister Black got back up and became 2-on-1 with Drew McIntyre and Aleister Black attacking Cody Rhodes, but then Damian Priest comes running out there trying to make the save, still 2-on-1, but then Damian Priest is still fighting back, and then he's seeing Aleister Black outside of the ring. He tries to get out of the ring, but then Drew was trying to stop him, but then Cody starts beating down Drew McIntyre inside the ring. Damian Priest gets outside of the ring, and then we see Zelina Vega try to jump onto Priest. Priest catches her, but puts her in the timekeeper's area, and then that's when Aleister Black goes out through the eye of Damian Priest, and he quickly escapes. And then inside the ring, we see Cody hitting the Cody cutter onto Drew, but then Drew rolls out the ring, saving himself, and then Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes are standing tall inside the ring. Drew McIntyre is outside of the ring, and then we see the SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis coming out there, telling Drew McIntyre that he is suspended. So yeah, that's what he was saying there, and Drew was not too happy about that, saying that everyone's against him. So yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good stuff for the match and what happened after the match and all that stuff. I'll give it all 3 stars. That's why I'll give it. It was a pretty good match. For match of the night, I gotta say, it was Ilya Dragunov versus Johnny Gargano. That match was really good. But yeah, that has been my Friday Night SmackDown reviews for tonight's episode of Friday Night SmackDown. I'll give it 8 stars. That's why I'll give it. It was a pretty decent show. But yeah, that's why I'll give the whole show. Actually, I'll give it 8.5 stars. But yeah, that has been my Friday Night SmackDown reviews. Like, subscribe to TNW Wrestling on YouTube, subscribe to my other channel, Word of Chris, and subscribe to this channel, Chris McDaniels, and follow me on all my social media accounts. I'll be down there in the description box, and I'll see you guys later for this Monday's Monday Night Raw reviews. See you guys later. Till then.